See, she left the bit in, so I couldn't tell. She's left the mouse on the thing, so I can't tell if she's recording or not.
Mm-hmm. We got 10 good seconds.
No, as soon as I took my breath
Mhm.
to introduce us, he started talking. He was
That's
waiting
perfect. Yes.
for me to do that.
Yeah.
Good
So who are we?
Good evening. We are Boomer Rex tonight.
All right.
Someday I'm going to get through an introduction.
No, you're not.
I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Boomer Rex himself.
Right. Yep.
Asshole.
If we turn up in dumpsters, she did it.
Yep.
Do a true crime podcast about us.
And I am RisenLadyHeathen, and we have an exciting show for you tonight. Remember that question we asked about if Denmark had anything to do with saving the Jews and wearing yellow gold stars? Well, I got the answer for you coming up. But first, we're going to get back into this Eternals movie by DC Marvel.
Well, we were congratulating Disney last night, right, for resisting the requests from the Saudis and so on.
The
Kuwait,
royal list of countries that
Qatar.
aren't China.
Yeah. And anyway, so Risen is telling me where to put my notes.
Well, that way you're facing when you're talking.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've been meaning to say something, but my brain...
Jeff,
Anyway,
you doing it wrong for.
we were congratulating Disney and we didn't congratulate Marvel. So, way to go, Marvel.
Go Marvel. Good job.
Absolutely.
Until the next time you do something dumb.
And if
then we're
nobody in
throwing
Saudi
shoes.
Arabia, Kuwait, or Qatar gets to see it, that's just fine with the universe.
Sounds fair to
They
me.
have an internet.
Well, and we have an update for you on Vin Thacker, our asshole of the week.
Yeah, that dick, right? Anyway,
The LGBTQ book guy, Nazi.
Yeah, the one
for
who
you
wanted
guys
to-
who are...
Local and yeah.
yeah, wanted to have the librarians report any students who checked out an LGBTQ kind of
Some
book.
checkist garbage.
Yeah.
This
Checkist.
is-
I like that. Checkist.
Yes, no, this is the thing. We get lost too easily in the Nazi thing because, yeah, no, they're running a fascist play. That's a whole other problem. But, yeah, we have a load of really rude words for informer. And it's like when I say revenuer. I'm not actually making bootleg booze or
And
doing
it's
any
supposed
crimes.
to be revenuer.
I
You've got to
know.
get it right.
I know.
Sheesh. It's
Anyway.
like you've never known a...
My blood just says it's the law. So,
Yeah.
sort of
Someday
tease
we'll
it
tell
the
you the
fuzz.
story about the revenuer that I grew up next to.
No.
That's...
Honest to God, ATF revenuer.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, he was a good guy. Anyway, so it turns out that 3 other very conservative candidates associated themselves with this Vin Thacker.
Of course they did.
Right, and that's Andrea Lawrence, Morgan Hughes, and Jeff Rubino. And the 4 of them were defeated Tuesday night.
Awesome.
Way
So-
to go, Americans.
Yep.
Way to say no to people who want to know what books your kids are reading. Because
Well,
that's
I went-
entirely too much thinking about you, other adults thinking about your kids.
Yeah.
I went to
no,
Vin
for
Thacker's
real.
Facebook page, and he's got like 3 people who ever respond to anything he writes. So he's a complete non-entity, but he's a dick.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No, he's
Well,
he
and
was
just a bad
defeated.
person.
And I'd
Way
be
to
less
go.
offended if I could honestly believe he believed any of this, right? That it wasn't just a persona he's going to play until, oops, no, we all pretended the rules didn't exist to a point where they didn't, right? That I'm a firm believer that governments are like fairies in Peter Pan. That when you say you don't believe in them,
they go away.
they die.
Yep.
One of them somewhere dies.
Yep. So
So-
in any case,
Way to go.
we're
Way to
done
not
with
pick
him.
the
He won't be
shitheads.
on our list anymore.
Oh,
But
good.
I was going to come back to him every night till we
Yeah.
knew what the outcome was.
Well, and we'll see.
Bad night,
if-
dear scumbag.
Yeah, we'll see if more comes from that. So we will still keep an eye on it just in case. But
And there'll be a new idiot.
yeah.
Yep.
No, there's always something, and we're keeping our eyes out for you folks. So keep an eye on these people. We are as well. And you wanted to discuss the white lady. I think this is a good time to mention the white lady with the customer service voice.
Ah, yes. So there's a principal at this alternate high school, and I have a soft spot in my heart having gone to one. That the story as I understand it, is she came across a police officer who had a bunch of kids up against the wall and was asking about the gunfire that had been heard down the way. And she realizes her principal voice isn't going to break this up because you do. Right? We use tone all the time.
So they're against the wall, hands
Yep.
on the wall.
They've
and
assumed the
cop
position, and the
is-
cops behind them, and talking to the group saying, somebody's got to tell me something, or we're just all staying here forever. And it's a perfectly fine-ish tactic, kind of, but not really. And it's part of how we got to where we are and a lot of the problem. But this woman decides, right, she can't roll up on this like she does when it's two students being aggressive because she really has no authority over a police officer. And
these were black students, right?
at least some of them.
Okay.
So she takes this good stance of using her customer service voice, and she starts saying, Jamal and Terrell, I know you guys showed up early to help some other teachers with books and stuff, and begins automatic humanizing and giving examples of, no, hold on, like, whatever you may be thinking these are,
These kids are doing,
yeah,
we're involved
they're
in
good
it, yeah.
students, or at least they're potential students, and because one of the students has already gotten tired of this and had leaned away from the wall, which prompted the police officer to take out his baton. And the
Don't
problem
do that,
is,
guys.
at a basic safety level, you are one human with a stick. If the multiple humans against the wall,
If you're that scared, why are you even talking to them?
yeah, no, it's we're back to parts of this huge swaths of this are failure and
And again, it's one thing to sit down and be like, hey, boys, did you hear that gunfire this morning? Do you know anything about that? And talking with them like they're
Yeah.
human beings. It's another thing to make them all get up against the wall and put their hands on the wall and that whole shabeel. That's not how you get people to help you or give you information or trust you. Not helpful. But anyway, continue your story. I'll shut up.
So, no, and she just humanizes him as she's walking over and opens the door, because here's this principal, right, of an alternate high school. So she knows the system is not for everyone or entirely functional all the time. She gets the door open, and Oscar Schindler's these kids inside, and one of the kids who's not involved in this and hasn't been part of her humanizing story goes, ma'am, I was here to see if I could register today. And she's like, oh, of course, we can take care of that right now. Come with me. And good job. Way to use your privilege, which is a phrase I don't really like, but it's as good as I've got right now.
No, and from what you were telling me, she was super polite to the officers.
Oh,
saying
absolutely.
good morning and
No,
hey,
but
kids, what
this
are you
led
up
her to have a personal moment of looking back on, because she's heard stories about police putting kids up against the wall and taking whatever cash they have on them. And we've gotten to a point where I have no trouble believing that.
Mm-hmm.
I also have no trouble believing that is a USDA good lie, and if I had cause to use it when I was of an age to use that, I'd have absolutely said it with no compunction at all.
Right.
So if you don't want to call it white privilege, you want to call it white superpower?
No. No.
But in a real way, it is.
when it's used
Right.
appropriately, this is the problem.
A piece. But
Because
the
we're
point
looking at it
is,
being done in two different directions,
the
right?
point is
Yeah.
that because she was white, she was able to influence the situation in a way
Yeah.
that a black parent, for instance, probably could not have.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what white privilege means, right? It
Oh,
means
absolutely.
that people listen to you.
No, but I'm also sympathetic to the people who we told, raise your children to be colorblind, and they did, and all of a sudden, that's proof of your privilege. And, shit, yeah. But that's not moving goalposts. We set a goal that wasn't far enough.
Yeah, a piece. That's halfway to the goal,
Yeah.
right? So let's finish the trip, which
And
is
so-
to say,
Yeah.
some of our institutions, some of our standing
Absolutely.
operating procedures are not colorblind,
Mhm.
right? And so that black people have a very different experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So-
Well, and we're learning with, like, AIs, where we're accidentally coding in a bias. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say this is on accident somehow. Right, and it's going to be training sets, and it's a deeper question than the headlines would
Yeah.
tell you. The internet, you're the internet. You're basically a puffy cloud of ones and zeros. So, you telling me that bureaucracies that have spanned whole people's careers don't have some sort of the similar residue of bad choices and just really some evil ones, really diabolically shithouse evil.
Oh, I think if, again, we have some evidence that something like 25% of America is genuinely drooling racists, right? And they're real easy to identify these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they work in public functions and so forth? Yes. And when they are working in those functions, do they behave in accord with their racism? You can bet your last
Oh, yeah.
dollar that they do,
Yeah.
But
right?
Every time.
if we're going to do
Which
that,
is
I
why
want
people talk about being canceled. I'm sorry. When I find out you're a drooling racist, I want you out of the position you're in.
Oh
Period.
yeah,
Yeah.
instantly.
Yep.
Yep.
This is unacceptable.
We don't have room for that in our
Go pump
society
gas,
today.
right?
Yeah.
No one should trust anyone's professionalism to overcome that sort of thing.
Right.
I would expect the same of like wackadoo. Right. I don't really know what the extreme of my which part of the extreme of my party I want to point and laugh at. But again, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. That if the lunatic left,
I don't know that there are any
if
that
the
are
lunatic
that
left
destructive.
found a genie and got all their wishes, versus if the lunatic right, then those are two different worlds.
Yeah.
And no one's
And one of them's out to hurt people.
well, and
one of
only
them is
one
not.
side's lunatics are getting any real yardage.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot to say that, not that like every, super left-leaning Democrat is not out to hurt people, because that's not necessarily true. We don't know. We
I
don't
think
know
you're
these
falling
people.
for the false
There are
equivalence.
there's few enough of them that it's hard enough to really understand if they exist, who they
Yeah,
are, and
that's-
what sorts of things
so
they
they-
want.
Right.
spend
They're
no-
not serving in positions of
Uh-huh.
significance
Exactly.
in the fucking White House.
No, and
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay.
No, exactly. There is no. We can go one for one, left versus right, and we're going to end up with a lot less kids on the left. Because really, what the squad? Yeah, the squad's not even marginally dangerous. Right. There is no communist party in the United States. There is no one saying we're going to look at their assets. We're going to seize half. And we're going to put that in a government fund and redo the. We told black troops coming home from World War II where they couldn't live because it was too nice for them. And wow, I thought we just
Wouldn't let them
more of those
exercise
shitheads.
their GI Bill.
Wow, I again.
Right? And again, that was part of the division between the races, right?
Yeah.
Um,
It was America trying to undo this horrible mistake that had happened where a middle class was created. America's intention was never to
but
have one of
I
those.
guarantee you that my father and his veteran
Oh,
friends
shit, yeah.
who made use of their GI Bill didn't know that. And if they had
And
known
when they
it,
did, we have examples
they
of when
would
they
have
did.
fixed it.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to the job market. You had some info on that.
So folks are talking about how, not enough folks are working and so forth, and we're going to have to raise the price that we pay for labor. Well, way to go. Excellent.
Yeah,
I'm
Sooner
all
or later,
for
we're
it.
going to raise the minimum wage.
But it's
gonna
kind of
have to
interesting.
happen, whether people like it or not.
One
and
way
most
or
people
another.
do like it.
Yep.
Well, and the other choice.
Well, and the ones who don't are in businesses we probably don't need.
Right.
If you
And-
can't afford to pay your people $22 an hour, you should sell your business and retire.
Shut up! I get to screw them with like their own babble and
Oh, good. Okay.
propaganda. What happens when a market force has been artificially oppressed?
Yeah.
Those corrections have been historically the most damaging and
Yeah.
overreaching.
Yeah. So I will enjoy seeing the market forces operate to set wages.
Yeah, no, and we've already seen it. People
I
are
don't wanna catch on fire,
being
the
forced
internet.
to raise their wages to get
Yep.
people in there.
Or whining about how they can't get people for slave wages.
I
Screw
find
'em.
it hysterical that all these people that were telling everybody like me and my friends who work hard every day in these retail jobs, right? Food retail, regular
You
retail,
mean those essential
whatever.
jobs that
These essential jobs. They're telling us that, well, if you wanted to make more money, you should have gotten a better job. So when COVID happened, guess what a lot of those service members did? They went and they got the education and they got those better jobs. And now you're all bitching that you can't get somebody to work for $12 an hour, getting shit on all day.
Tough
Oh
luck.
no, I
Didn't you
can't get
have-
my cheeseburger.
Didn't some jackass tell
A
you that
cheeseburger
half of
now.
your pay was in sunshine?
Oh my gosh. So when I moved to Florida, the best thing that I was ever told at an interview, now mind you, I took 2 interviews to get a job, okay? The first interview was at a Dairy Queen, a drive-through Dairy Queen, and they wanted to pay me, who I have so much experience. I got like 25 years of management experience and food retail experience. I've been doing this forever.
Yep.
And she wanted me as a cook. And now the cooks in this place do everything. They cook
Yeah.
everything. Like there's one person that does all of this. And she wanted to pay me $9 an hour. And I said, I'm not doing this job for less than $11 an hour. So either
and even that's
either
crazy
you
low in
put
my
me-
head for cook.
I was
Yeah.
like, either you put me on a minimum of like, I'll do like 90 days or whatever at $9. And then after that, you guarantee me minimum a $1 raise. And then after whatever period after that, I want another dollar raise, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I can't do that. Here in Florida, you get paid in sunshine. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, no. No. And I left there laughing and laughing.
Oh my God.
Nope, that's not how life works. And I got a job at Walmart for significantly more after that. Yeah.
No, and I'm sure they still have a silly ass little sign in the window that says, please pardon our interruptions in service because we can't find people to work here.
Because
Again,
kids
if you
these
can't-
days, something dumb.
If you can't pay the least of your employees $22 an hour, sell the business and retire.
Yeah.
Right? America doesn't need you.
See, I don't know a good way to do the means of production will be put in the hands of the competent. That's what capitalism promised on the side of the box. Because as soon as people hear means of production,
They begin to think Marx.
No, and I was being nice asking for $11 because I was like, I'm just going to be a cook here, right? I'm going to have one job and that's what I'm going to do.
By
And
the way,
so fine,
absolutely.
I'll take $11 even though I am actually worth significantly more than that with my experience and with what I
No,
what
you
I
could
know.
easily have run the joint.
Oh God. With
No.
my
And
eyes closed
I know.
and my arms tied behind my back, just telling people, all right, do you get that burger out? What's the next order? What's the next order?
Yeah, it would have been. Anyway, I want credit for the fact that capitalism puts the means of production in the hands of the competent, because that's my fucking quote.
Oh, fine. No, I thought you wanted credit for that actually being true anywhere on the ground. Because I was just gonna go Kushner, Ivanka, like
Yeah,
I'll
got
stop naming gajillionaire babies when
it. Yeah. People who moved in that circle have said the remarkable thing about them is how incredibly ordinary they are. That there's nothing special about them.
I mean, it took Europe, maybe 2 generations before the sons of Whosits were just drivel.
Yep. So anyway, the job market. So no, what I found was an interesting comment that women with young children were disproportionately the ones who left the labor force.
Yeah.
Right. If wages go up, they may not return. Many of them are married.
Yeah.
So
When I had my son, we looked up the cost of putting him in childcare. It would have cost my entire weekly paycheck. I was like, why am I going to work literally just to pay somebody to
Look after
raise
your
my
kids.
child for
Yep.
me when I can stay home for the exact same price?
Absolutely.
This is ridiculous.
the other group that disproportionately left was we had about 3 million older Americans who retired. And so we're now at a level
Do
of
they really retire though? Like good retire?
they left their job
Okay, fine. So they went
Okay.
to a farm in upstate New York. I got it.
wherever.
Hi.
Well, my dad was forced into retirement by his company.
So-
Well, that was long before COVID, but yeah.
Crap, I just realized one of the companies I knew had a mandatory retirement age and I'm past it.
Uh-oh.
Not my current one, apparently.
Thank God.
I guess if they do, they'll tell me someday.
Eventually, they'll be like,
Yeah.
by
Eventually
the
the
way,
check
Come in and say you
Stop.
can't work
TikTok,
anymore.
TikTok, you
Yeah.
gotta go, man.
So, again, I'm having fun. The day I stop having fun, yeah, well, I know how to put in for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but the other thing that isn't happening, right, is that typically when we get to the levels of unemployment we're seeing today, which are damn low, right, it's between 4 and 5%.
Which we used to think was the hard bottom.
Right.
Like I remember in the 90s, that was just straight dogma of
Oh, yeah,
you can't get below 5.
right.
5% of them are just too lazy to live.
Well, that's the point at which retired people have typically chosen to re-enter the job market, right? That people were offering enough for them to say, yeah, I think I'll go work.
I'll give up 8 hours a day or whatever, and yeah.
Yeah. And that's not happening yet. So it may never happen.
Interesting.
They may have decided, screw it. But anyway, it's an interesting thing that these two groups are the ones that have not yet come back to work. And they may yet decide not to, which will drive wages up quite a bit, which is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're having trouble finding people, why don't you offer higher wages?
And
Anyway.
good, make sure you offer good health insurance, because that's another problem that I have found with every recent job I've had since I got back into the workforce after my 5 years off, with my son. And one thing was when I was a teenager and I went to work for Walmart, I had amazing health insurance. And I was a manager in training back then, right? Like I was basically a full-time regular employee who was going to management training and stuff, but my insurance was phenomenal, right? And then I went back to McDonald's after, years, and the insurance was crap and it was expensive and it was terrible.
I have an asshole question to ask real quick.
Yeah.
Was your insurance phenomenal, or did you use it? Is my question.
Well, it was good because it included eye care, which I do use
Okay,
because
yeah,
I do
no,
have
like-
glasses, and dental, which I did use because my mom was very insistent
Cool.
about that when I
Yep.
was younger.
No, but that was my only question, because like as a teenager,
And
I
my mom
remember
would
looking
take
at
me
the
to
like
doctor.
numbers, the like binders with the numbers in it,
Yeah.
and they looked pretty good. But I also,
But you never used it, so you didn't.
well, and I'm the wrong kid to ask, because you were talking earlier about cooks, and like before I switched over to security, it was all of my jobs were food service,
Mhm.
and the cooks there were making $18,
Yeah.
$19 an hour, and that
And this
at,
was
like,
back in the
Jenny.
day.
Yeah, no, this is in the
Yeah.
like late '90s.
Yeah.
And then security's
was-
the whole other thing is different.
Yeah. No, but we did. We had good health insurance, and I can't even I was even working at Easter Seals in New Hampshire for a couple of years, and their health insurance was terrible too. It was ridiculous. So
Anyway,
yeah,
maybe this will help.
yeah, no, they offer people benefits
And
and
if
stuff.
not, we need to start writing federal laws.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner the better. Go
I'm
Democrats.
perfect- do
This is how you get people to the polling
I
station,
know, it makes me crazy.
right? So
Minimum
get
wage?
behind the minimum wage, $22 an hour, push the hell out of it.
Well, and
Because if you don't do something, you're going to lose, and we're going to have the orange buffoon again.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or something worse.
yes, or there are worse.
No, and there's a lot of
there are worse
complaints
fish in the sea.
about the new
Well, there are.
about the new generation, right? The younger kids, the Gen Zers starting to get into the workforce and how they just don't care. You know why they don't care? Because they're not getting paid enough to care.
Yeah.
$9 an hour
Well,
when I
and
was a teenager went a lot fucking
They
farther.
never saw, that's one of the things to never forget about the millennials is they were the last ones that really saw the echo or whatever of the society we used to be. Right.
Right.
Middle class.
Work
of a-
hard and it'll work out
Yep.
for you. Yep.
Right. That you can judge.
Which turned out not to be true for most
No.
millennials.
no,
right?
and
it's
that's
certainly not
I mean, it
turning
wasn't.
out to be true for Gen X and Z.
I was going to say, it wasn't true for Gen Xers, it wasn't true for millennials, and it's not going to be true for Gen Z. But Gen Z has only ever seen that.
Yeah.
That their whole thing is it really is so close to somewhere between YOLO and
Yeet.
get rich or die trying.
Yeah.
Yeet, no, I have to love Yeet because I grew up using Yoink,
Oh,
and I
that's
heard
true.
Yeet is the yang to,
Yeah, Yeet is the new yoink for sure.
it's
Yeah.
the opposite. Because Yoink is me taking it,
Jeez.
and Yeet is throwing it.
That's true.
And so that it's got a place in my heart.
All right.
All makes me want to headbutt people.
So
So we're not going to do the remedial class in idiot speak right now for the boomer, but after this is over, you're going to have to explain yeet and yoink. So,
Yoink.
Yeet.
okay, got it.
Explanation.
All
done.
right.
Bam, you just saw the class and you owe me $1. That's why you should like, comment, and subscribe.
And so for those of you who just
I'm not going to
say,
give you a high five and like,
I was hoping to have it like the. Yeah. No. He's giving me this dirty, dirty look.
oh my God. So for those of you who had enough of this shit, you just want to leave,
hit the like and subscribe button on your way out.
right?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
We can
and
see you.
We're gonna move on to the search for life on Mars.
I was
hear
saying,
got
if you
some
want a new place
information
to
on
go.
that.
Is there life on Mars?
We don't know whether there is or was or whatever,
But what
but
about the canals? There's not canals on Mars, the internet, and you know it.
right. That was Lowell,
Yeah.
who had a vision defect that led to him seeing lines on Mars.
Is he seeing lines on Mars, or is he seeing the blood vessels in his own eyes?
I don't know why he was seeing lines.
Worms.
I think he was astigmatic.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't. Neither did you.
Yeah, no,
Now you
you
know.
learn a
Which
new thing every day.
emphasizes
New brain wrinkle.
which emphasizes
Fuck, I'm old.
which makes your eye emphasize
I just like to say crazy
Anyway,
things.
astigmatism makes your eye emphasize lines in specific directions.
Oh yeah, that's
right?
why they get the stars on the lights.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's why he saw canals. Or again, I'm telling you what I read 20 years ago and trying to repeat it
Astronomy,
faithfully, right?
mythology,
Yeah.
paraphrased with Boomer
But-
Rex.
Curiosity has found evidence of Thiophenes.
Go.
Evidence. So anyway, Curiosity has found evidence of Thiophenes on Mars, and that's an organic molecule that on Earth is overwhelmingly produced by biological processes.
Right.
There are non-biological processes that can produce it, and they could have produced it on Mars. But the one test we've been able to do so far is more consistent of the ones from Mars, are more consistent with a biological origin. So an interesting developing story.
Yeah, that is
Right.
pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, and it means when you get sick and tired of Earth, you can just move to Mars. By the way, folks,
Stop telling them that.
Mars
Yeah,
Mars is not a good place to think about colonizing for a number of reasons. And you know what? We'll do a special
start there.
topic on that.
We will.
Okay.
In the meantime, you can just send me bags of money and I will build Moon Vegas,
Yes. Okay, there you
which we
go.
could actually do.
Right. And we'll buy one of those little corporate jets that look
Yeah,
like,
sure. All kinds of stuff.
that look like fish.
I just want to
Yeah.
hang out with mafiosos.
All right, we're gonna
And we'll
call that-
drive around and let people ride in them.
We're gonna call that special topic Mars living.
Mars
How about
living.
that? I like
Okay.
that. All right, so now we're gonna move on. We are keeping an eye on Zahalo.
Kirill's Hollow. This is that 35-year-old
No.
Russian FSB agent who was
Oh.
found lying dead on the sidewalk in front of the
shit.
embassy in
I had
Germany.
something.
Sorry for botching your name, dead
Berlin.
guy. I really don't mean to.
Yeah.
Well, no, I only keep him on the list for one reason.
What's his first
right?
name?
And one reason alone.
Hey, who's it? Jump out your window.
Kirill. Is that his father is a big high functionary in the FSB.
They're
And-
Murder Incorporated.
Yeah, exactly.
Murder Incorporated.
They're calling it the second service. I thought it was always called the second directorate.
That's
but
under KGB.
that's okay. It's good.
Their directorate was terrorists. First directorate's internal, is my
Okay.
vague understanding. But then they were the SVK.
Well, second service are the ones who went around poisoning people.
Yeah.
So anyway, come on, guys. There's more to this story. I searched again today. There's nothing new. Found dead, lying on the sidewalk, front of the embassy. Fine.
Suspicious moose and squirrel.
Ah.
Fuck, sorry.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God.
From Bullwinkle. You
don't
think you're
know-
killed by moose and squirrel.
You don't know moose and squirrel?
Sorry, the internet. I'm bad. Just can't.
And so somewhere up in the windows of the embassy, of course, were Boris and Natasha.
Mhm.
Okay. So anyhow, but to go quickly from there, I want to touch again, and we'll keep doing this. We're going to global weirding.
Climate weirding. We coined that term. That's what we're calling it. F you.
Take your pick. Anyway,
Climate weirding.
again, to hit the high point again, right? We talk about climate change, and that is not what is happening.
Right.
Right? The climate is changing. It's going to be different. The
Yeah.
plants and animals that live where you live now are not going to live there anymore.
No.
So
You're
humans
going
should
to
chart a
have
course so
new
we can see the
plants,
weird new animals.
new annual rainfall for many of the places, not for all. Some won't escape. But the biggest problem is that you're going to get a new climate, which means there'll be a new average. But nobody says what the variation can be.
Mhm.
And with the extra energy in the atmosphere, the one thing I guarantee you is that the variability will be larger, not smaller.
So what you're
Agreed.
saying
So-
is the way we choose to live as a species is force feeding Mother Nature Mountain Dews and espressos, and we're going to be sad about that eventually.
Yeah, it's like feeding, you take the kids, you sugar them up, give them back to.
Yeah.
That's a good grandparent trick when
You
you
want
get
to know
there.
why I don't have kids?
Yeah, okay. So anyway, but one of the things that we didn't talk a lot about is, so what the hell can we do about this,
Oh,
right? So just a quick look, right? Where does CO2 come from? Where does
Yeah.
the climate warming gases come from? And the answer is kind of transportation, electricity, and industry are all kind of equal. It's sort of 25%. And then residential is, another 13%. And the rest of it's kind of scattered around. And there, of course, there are natural sources. So what can we
Wildfires,
do?
yeah.
Exactly. So first and foremost, electricity is one of the easy ones. Stop using coal.
Oh God, yeah. Easy.
Coal
easy
produces
peasy.
twice as much CO2 per kilowatt hour as any other, right?
Yeah,
As
but
the-
what
as-
do we replace it with? We still need X watts at Y whatever's.
Okay, so you can do natural gas, you can do renewables, a whole range of stuff. Don't use coal. And the good news is that a number of new coal plants that were planned have been canceled, right?
Now I can
And-
just hear every Republican screaming,
About
"What
war on
about clean coal?"
Okay, so let's make it really simple. If you're talking to somebody and they use the words clean coal, either one, they're ignorant enough, you should probably keep an eye on them to be sure they keep breathing.
So they're
Or
not sitting
two,
there
they're
with a scrub
trying
brush
to-
cleaning the coal, like
Oh,
just
I think
scrubbing
that's
it
what
by
Trump
hand,
thought based on the things he
scrubbing
said.
that coal
Yeah,
clean.
but-
yeah,
I care about people who can learn new.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's
What
not
is
be
clean
dicks to
coal?
people
So,
we're trying to teach.
There's no such
shit.
thing as clean coal.
Okay.
In the
Is this the low
purest
sulfur
form,
coal nonsense?
um,
Or is it just
let
an
us-
umbrella
no,
term for that?
ask me low sulfur in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. No, when people talk about clean coal, right, they're talking about a process that captures and sequesters the CO2 from the coal plant as it leaves.
Okay, so this is
There's
carbon sequestration.
exactly one plant has ever been built that did that. And it doesn't capture it, it pushes it into oil wells to get the last little bit of oil out. Now, will that stay sequestered or seep out? My guess is seep out. But anyway, there's only ever been one built. It was built with $1 billion in subsidies from the U.S. government.
I can't help but notice all of this is past tense.
The
so-
second, I think it's still in operation. They had planned a much larger one, and they gave up when it went $4 billion over budget before being completed.
And I know
Right.
that's part of the problem.
So
Switching
that process, if at some point in the future, right, there is no natural gas, there is no oil, right, at some point in the future, right, if we absolutely had to have combustibles, right, if we had some situation where renewables couldn't handle the job, then you could talk about building true clean coal plants that capture the CO2. They're going to be wildly expensive, and the electricity from them is going to be wildly expensive. But you could talk about doing it. It's a technology it looks like we can actually do. It's
But-
just that at this point, nobody on earth is going to bother paying for
Yeah,
it.
no one is talking
for
now,
any
is it
reason.
worth doing that rather than going to nuclear for power?
Nuclear is one where you really need to stop and think about how we're going to do this.
It has
Right.
budget problems like, whoa.
Well, and the other thing is that we haven't decommissioned any nuclear power plants, right? We've turned some off, but they're sitting there full of their last load. And as we found out when Japan had their little problem, right? Each
Big
of those
problem, people. Big
Yeah.
problem.
No, but at Fukushima, the real hazard turned out to be not so much the reactor, although God knows they were a problem. It was the fact that since there's no nuclear fuel reprocessing anywhere, that they had all their old spent fuel rods in cooling ponds next to the reactor. And those were the ones that were, boiling over and melting and burning and right. So
Is there
Right.
any way to do meaningful reprocessing? I mean, we've gone far afield and talk about it some other time.
yeah, and we can come back to
Yeah.
it. Yes, it can be reprocessed. The
Yeah,
U.S.
but I'm also
reprocessed. Where do you think plutonium comes from?
I'm also supposed to ask you about low sulfur, so obviously we need to do a night.
All right, let's
energy
talk
talk.
about low sulfur.
And
One
that's
of-
low
Coal.
sulfur coal.
Yeah,
Just so people are keeping
the
up
problem
the
with sulfur and coal is that when you burn it, it turns into sulfur dioxide, which mixes with raindrops and comes to the ground as dilute sulfuric acid,
Ugh.
right?
Yeah, acid rain. No.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
likes acid rain.
So there was a big push to get the sulfur out of coal. And so now they're processing these high sulfur coals to get the sulfur out of it. And the one place in the country where the coal has no sulfur is the Four Corners area right over there. And that coal has no sulfur. And so when you say you have to take 90% of it out before you can sell it, there's no sulfur in it.
Which means removing 90% of like 2%.
It, unprocessed Four Corners
Yeah.
coal is better than the best of the reprocessed coal as far as sulfur content, period. So we did something incredibly stupid.
This is part of where
Sounds like.
my sneering at technocratic answers
I
comes
know.
from. Is fine, but we have to keep watching it. And the one thing we're really not good at as a society is preventative maintenance.
Yeah, well, no, and I promise you that the technocrats
Yeah.
knew that
Uh-huh.
this was true, right? So why didn't the law say you have to have less than a certain amount? It's because all the fucking coal from Mansions District in West
Oh, forgot
Virginia,
about
or
that.
wherever that jackass lives, is so loaded with coal that nothing they do will make it as good as Four Corners coal. So they wrote the law to be
fuck
sure that
over the
people
other
couldn't
people.
just switch to Four Corners coal.
All right, in other words, coal's bad, folks.
Yeah.
Let's not do coal.
Yeah, even the
let's
best
get away from
coal
that.
is bad.
Well, and wouldn't it be easy enough to just take like a corner of, the desert somewhere and just throw a bunch of solar and wind turbines and just be done with it?
About that. Transmission is a problem.
Yes.
Fair.
So any of the things we're going to end up doing, we should keep an eye on how can I do this in the middle of like downtown Boston, which is going to make the nuke argument. Look, you really could. It's just you'd have to do it, and you need smaller than you think, and a lot of them, and
Well,
Just
and
some
you've got
cute tricks.
you have to
Well, couldn't we just make it legal for every person in America to put solar on their roof whenever they fucking feel like it, no whatever, and just
sure
provide
that would help.
electricity to...
is it
The problem with
illegal in a
solar,
number of places I don't know about?
there are places where they will make it hard for you to
Yeah,
put
but that's like
solar
an
on your
HOA
roof.
and stuff,
Yeah, it's-
right?
California.
Yeah. And then there's the nonsense about being connected or not connected. But there's a problem with solar, which
Nighttime.
is
I know, but it's
lately-
the usual answer I
Yeah.
hear, so I'm trying
Okay.
to.
Peak solar production, right, is in, noon and early afternoon, right? The problem is that peak usage, right, tends to be when people go home, right? And they turn up the air conditioning, they cook dinner, they turn on their lights, right? So your peak production is not where you need it. You have to ship it westward. And that shipping it requires transmission facilities that we haven't built yet. We certainly could build.
Oh, yeah.
Well, couldn't you
Right.
just do like batteries to hold it so that it can stay in an
Oh.
area? And then do we have to discuss
So you're now
making
at a point
better batteries?
Where if you live in the Southwest and you have a roof, right, or any place on your property that's not covered in trees, what you should probably think about is putting in a solar installation and getting a battery that's about twice the size you need to get through the night, right? And one of the things you might think about whether you could build it in or not, turns out electric cars have giant damned batteries in them,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if I had an electric car, I could
Plug
charge
my house
it.
into it.
I could plug my house into it. I could charge it up completely, right? Use a little bit at night. Then the first thing I do the next day is charge the car. So the car can now scamper around and do errands and come back around noon and soak up all that high solar in, noon to early afternoon kind of.
Couldn't you
right?
just buy electric car batteries and do a similar?
You could, but they're going to be cheaper coming in a car. Because you get a car too for free, wrapped around the battery.
Battery
It even
now
makes
with
it
purple
mobile.
zones.
It even makes it mobile. Now you might want to take it somewhere, like your summer cabin. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. And yes, the installations like the Tesla wall right, which all the Tesla wall is doing for you, typically, is it is shifting your usage from the high usage period, right, to the low usage period when the rates are lower in many places, right? So again, load balancing is a great idea. On the other hand, we've got this huge infrastructure for the generation of electricity. So being entirely selfish, if I were going to do this, I'm going to put in the solar.
Yeah.
I'm going to put in the batteries, and I'm going to cut the wire and tell them to get off my property and never send me another bill. Because what will happen if, as people do this,
Yeah.
is that utility still has to support its
X
and
cost.
right, and it's real.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
But it's X cost by Y users equals the bill.
right, exactly.
And as your user
And
rate drops,
to some extent, independent of how much electricity is flowing through it.
yeah.
It's not, obviously, it's not totally independent. It's not even nearly independent. But there is a fixed cost that those lines, just to
Yeah.
maintain the lines, whether you ever consume a kilowatt hour or not, right? So at the moment, for most users whose electric companies are not being pigs, it makes sense to pay them their fees and use their electricity at night.
All right. Well, that seems like an amazing place to transition into Big Bird indoctrinating children.
I love
Big Bird
this.
is indoctrinating children,
Huh?
brainwashing.
I know. So, Big Bird got his COVID vaccine.
Oh,
I know. And on top
I
of
was
that,
worried about him.
Big Bird hopped on Twitter to let everyone know. It turns out he talked to his doctors. Turns out he's been getting vaccines this whole time. So the argument is all about, oh, he's pushing the COVID and blah, 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 and I don't care. Like,
No.
a longtime friend of mine just came
He
out. I
got
never
his-
thought to ask him, but a longtime friend of mine came out today and said, hey, I'm pro-vaccine, which I didn't think we had gotten to a place where that was the kind of like thing that just came up in conversation. But I'm glad. Like, here's a corporation, and it's not often I get to say good things about them, right? It's the same reason we're being nice to Disney earlier.
Yeah.
Is they took a stance, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be throwing rocks at them before the year's out. I'm the fact that they're making a deal to make it so the rich kids get to see Sesame Street a year before the poors.
Yeah.
Like, hold up, pause. Now, Big Bird, my friend, my longtime friend, I'm gonna stuff you in Oscar's trash can. It just degenerates from there.
Yeah. And
But I'm glad he got his shots, and I'm glad he's vaccinated his whole
and
life.
dear Big Bird, you're not going to fit in that trash can organized as you currently
Yeah.
are.
We're gonna need to optimize you.
Yes.
Optimization is key, folks.
You're welcome.
Now,
Remember, like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want to get optimized.
right?
Yep.
The
Chainsaw
moment-
optimize a Big Bird like nothing.
Oh, okay. I have to tell this thing. It's the chainsaw made me think of it. One of my favorite things I saw from the riots was somebody brought chainsaws, supposedly without
The chains.
Yeah, because duh, why do you
Yeah.
need that? But if you want to make police not push your lines, that
Starting a chainsaw probably do
They're-
it.
They've got Leatherface.
Oh my
hiding in
God,
there, and
that's
I'm
hilarious.
not playing.
Oh.
Who's standing
Especially
behind
if you
that
just
guy?
get one of the small electric ones and you just hold it down here and you just hit the button. It's like,
Like, I'm curious if I could do that with just a phone and a bullhorn.
oh, there you go. Just all you need is like one of those little speakers, those little Bluetooth speakers, and you just
Right.
whoa, that scene from.
I don't know if you can get the
I think there's one
Whatever.
over in the announcer's booth
one of
if you
those
ever need
horror
one in a hurry.
movies we've been talking about.
not the.
You'll have to put batteries in it.
Don't scare the police, everybody.
So let's finish up climate weirding. So residential. Residential, there's a limit to what you can do, right? But insulation, LED lighting. If you have electric, like baseboard heat, just get rid of it and go to a heat pump. It'll take 5 to 7 years to pay for itself, but it'll make a big difference in your electrical usage. And if you're looking at buying a new home, make somebody design you a home that makes proper use of solar and seasons to keep you warm in winter and cooler in summer.
You know, put the extra money into that four-season
Yep.
porch. Do it.
Transportation. Many households could use an electric car to drive around, do their errands, and hook it up at night. Yeah, you might want another car that you take on long trips. Fine. No heartburn with that. Many families have 2 vehicles.
Yeah, but the point is to not be using that on the reg if you can avoid it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not going to have the advertising going against it the way we had up until everybody got their EVs out in distance.
Yeah. So, and the other is leave your damned pickup truck and your SUV at home unless you need them for something, and drive a smaller car.
Right.
Right. There are if you're allergic to electric, there are gasoline cars that get 39 miles to the gallon.
Oh yeah, pick up an old school VW Bug. The ones that run on diesel actually get like 40 miles per gallon. It's incredible.
Our Saturn SL averaged 40 miles per gallon when it was 9 years old and the year before it died. Right. So anyway, it is possible to build cars that don't drink gasoline.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are the things that you can look at doing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is how you can help the world, folks.
Yep.
So keep that in mind.
And push other folks to do things like stop using coal.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Now, my turn.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
Okay. So, we were talking the other day about, did King Christian X of Denmark wear a yellow star in support of Jews? Now, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. actually has a lot of information on their website about this very particular thing. And if you Google this, statement, it'll pop right up. So please do. It's an interesting read. But I'm going to give you the very basics. And it's a very fun story that I think you will all enjoy. So, according to popular legend, King Christian X wore a yellow star in support of Danish Jews. Another version of this states that the Danish people followed his lead and also wore them. The short answer to this is no, it's not true.
Oh.
However, and this is what you're going to like, is I got a good story for you here. The long answer is Christian X and the Danish people did protect their fellow countrymen and saved most of their Jewish community from the Nazis. Germans occupied Denmark on April 9th of 1940. However, they treated Denmark remarkably softly in comparison to other countries they controlled at this time. The Danish government, with permission from Danish parliament, were allowed to keep governing. Danes were also able to keep and maintain their active army and navy. Their Jewish population was small enough and strongly supported by most Danes that Germany did not push Danes on the quote-unquote Jewish question.
Right.
Okay, so this was a big thing back then. They didn't make their Jews wear yellow stars or force them to register or try to steal their homes and businesses, as was forced in other countries. The Danish Jews were safe and happy until August of 1943. They actually almost were thriving during this time, right? So the Danish resistance operations had a few Jews, right? But it had been building over the spring and summer of this year. Danish government, instead of giving into German demand to let the German military court prosecute suspected saboteurs, resigned on August 28th of 1943.
Okay.
The night of August 29th, 1943, General Hermann von Henneken? Yeah, I think that's right. The German military commander declared martial law and promptly arrested all Danes, Jewish or not, including military personnel. So they just literally went in the streets and started arresting people at random.
Okay.
After taking control of police and the armed forces, General von Henken decided it was time to deal with the Jewish question. So now he decides to push this issue. In September, German security police sent a deportation coordinator to Copenhagen to begin arrangements for starting to deport these Jews. German diplomatic officials betrayed these plans to social democrats in Danish parliament. Okay, King Christian and the Danish government backed Danish resistance groups, and thousands of civilians began to hide their Jewish countrymen and smuggled them to boats and ferries to cross the narrow straits at the southern end of the Kattegat Sound into the safety of Sweden. With all of the troubles Germany was having in Italy at this time, they didn't put much effort into stopping this mass evacuation. Okay. King Christian shut down universities. Clergymen encouraged congregations to assist, and Danish police officers refused to stop the efforts. Only 476 Jews were deported to I can't even pronounce this, Thiophenes, a concentration camp where 52 of them died. Still, the Danish people supported their neighbors, sending food, provisions, and the Danish Red Cross insisted on visiting them regularly. These efforts potentially kept the Danish Jews from being sent to Auschwitz, which we all know is the main death camp, thus saving many lives. This heroic effort is what eventually led to this legend of the Yellow Star.
Way to go, Christian.
And that is my wonderful story.
Way to go, Denmark.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
I
I
thought
like
you'd
that.
be happy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so a legend.
So,
that
this
is
German
not true.
general.
Yeah.
Did we hang the son of a bitch at Nuremberg?
I have no idea. This is. I was focused
Because
on
if
this.
we didn't do the job.
Look, that's got to be the secret. We've all, as just good people from good countries, next time there's fascists, all of them up against the wall. I don't care if they can make a better shampoo or rocket or whatever. Of course, they've got something. Just do them all.
Yeah.
It's the only, because that's the only way you're going to get people to go, ooh, I don't want, this sounds kind of like the thing where then everyone gets put up
No,
against
and
the wall.
up to this, you can say, right, I'm following the orders of the Wehrmacht. But when you start to do this thing, which
Yeah.
is clearly a crime against humanity to
Yeah.
round up the Jews, you have made yourself eligible for a fucking noose.
Yeah.
And I'd rather we hoisted you than hung you.
You're exactly who I don't want in charge of young men with guns.
Right. No, but again, Denmark.
Or to breed,
Yes.
or to
No,
speak.
Denmark came together as a people, and
Well
what did it
played.
say? Only 52.
Way to
people?
go, Denmark.
Yeah, they only God, it was just absolutely insane. Like how many people they saved. Yeah, 52 people. That's it. That's all Denmark Jews that were murdered. Just 52 of them. So
Yep.
well played, Denmark. Good job.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my feel good, fun follow up from the other day. I told you I'd look it up, folks, and I'm glad I found a good story for
And
you.
that's
Yep.
why you like, commented, and subscribed.
Yeah, you better be like commenting, subscribing. I put a lot of effort into
Nobody's
these.
commented
I
yet.
know.
We need some comments. Somebody just write a comment. Say, hi, I heard you wanted a comment. Here it is.
Yeah.
Right.
First, somebody just needs to go in and be like, first.
No, it's like the standard thing. Would you make us some coffee? And say, poof, your coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I say, oh, god damn, that happens every time. So anyway, write us a comment. Somebody write a damn comment.
Yeah.
So
We're all
anyhow.
about the comments. We love you, folks. Thank you so much. We have had another brilliant night with you all. I hope you enjoyed the
Well, I think they
discussion.
get to decide brilliant, but
I feel like it was brilliant, and you know what? I don't care what they think.
right. Well,
You should
oh,
comment.
now that's
Tell
gonna
you.
help. No, but they might want to choose topics. Hey, if you've got a topic you
Yeah,
want us to
seriously.
babble about,
If they want me to talk about something else, they need to be commenting, man.
tell you
Like-
what, yeah, put it in the comment.
Put
Right.
it in the
In fact, we'll do it twice.
We just
right?
started recording this because
We'll
this is what we do every
comment.
night.
Yeah.
We'll
okay.
comment on it the first time, right off the top of our heads, and then we'll go learn something and come comment
Yeah.
again.
There you go.
So.
All right. So we love you all and have a wonderful night. And it has been a pleasure. We'll see you again tomorrow night on Boomer Rex Tonight.
Send me money so I can build Mood in Vegas. You know you want to go.